Hi viewers, we are excited to have you listen to us as we talk about Tumaini Children's Home. On my left, I have Mwangi, who is a member of the Women's Guild, and on my right, I have Rose Muruthi, who is a member of the Women's Guild at PCA St. Andrews, and my name is Susan Ndiritu, the Vice Chair of the Women's Guild. I have heard about Tumaini for some time, being mentioned in St. Andrews, but actually I do not know exactly what Tumaini is. And Mwangi, would you like to tell us what Tumaini is?
Thank you very much, Susan, for introducing this topic. As a member of the Women's Guild, I'm excited to talk about it and to say that the Tumaini Women's Home is a project of the PCA St. Andrews Church Women's Guild that caters for vulnerable children in our society. And it was started in year 2000.
Thank you so much, meaning Tumaini has been there for 22 years.
Yes,
that is great. What prompted the Women's Guild to start this project?
In the 90s, there was an increase in number of orphaned children because of the HIV and AIDS upsurge in the country. And this prompted this cry for children who did not have anybody to take care of, prompted the ladies of the St. Andrews Women's Guild to start a home to cater for these children who are orphaned and had nobody to love.
Thank you so much. Kindly give us a brief history how the home was started.
As I've said, that there was this increase in number of orphans, and the Women's Guild decided to start this home in the 1998-1999. The Women's Guild came up with an idea of buying a plot and putting up a home to cater for these children. So a committee was formed under the chairmanship of Mrs. Mereka, who was a member of this church. Now she serves as an elder in Evergreen. She was the chair of a big committee that was set up by the Women's Guild to look for a plot and to set up a home for the children. So after looking around for a plot in different areas in Nairobi, and even requesting the session to give us the session of the church to give us one of the church properties to put up a home, the Women's Guild got a plot in El Bulbul in Ngong, and this plot, a third of it was actually a quarry, and much as there was some fears that there wasn't much space for building, we went ahead and bought this plot and started off with construction. The stones that were used to build this home were actually mined from this quarry, and that cut off as a lot of cost in the building of the project. But as we started the construction of the home, we realized it was going to take long before the completion of the project or the building, and so the Women's Guild decided to look for a house where the home could start. Just next to the plot, there was a bungalow that was under construction, and the Women's Guild discussed with the owner of this bungalow, where she agreed to rent the bungalow, 3-bedroom bungalow, to the Women's Guild. And with the Women's Guild's finances, we were able to complete the bungalow, furnish it, and take in the first 3 children that were identified from Kikuyu Hospital and Kenyatta Hospital. The Women's Guild was also able to employ the first 2 mothers. So the home started in the 3-bedroom bungalow. At the same time, the construction of the plot that we had bought was going on. And over time, it was moving very slowly because of finances. But we were able to continue taking care of the children, and the numbers increased much as we lost some of our children that we had taken in because of the condition they were in as they came to the home. Some of them went to be with the Lord. We remember them with a lot of compassion. But eventually we had 9 children in the bungalow plus the 2 mothers, and the committee continued to take care of these children. The construction of the phase 1 of the houses to host the children was completed in year 2008, and in the same year, the children were moved from the bungalow the 9 children were moved from the bungalow to the apartment that had 6 units, to the flats that had 6 units. Out of these 6 units, 1 was used as a classroom because we were doing homeschooling. 3 were used to house the 9 children and the mothers, and 2 of the others were used as a living quarters, a sitting room and a dining area. And just before we get to that, it's also good to mention that Reverend Dr. Wanjao is the one who did the groundbreaking of and dedicating the plot at the Bulbul where these flats were built, and he worked with the Women's Guild all the way to the end. So in 2008, the children were moved in. Again, the moderator of the General Assembly at that time, Reverend Gethi, he opened and blessed the home. And from then on, the numbers of children were increased from 9 to 24. And all these children were vulnerable children. And the home continued to grow, and it was registered as a children's home with the government as a requirement. And the children continued to have all the needs that a child needs in a normal home. And we thank God, because even at that time, we were able to employ a total of 6 staff, a manager, home mothers, and a caretaker to run the home. So the children moved to these new apartments, and the bungalow was rent out to bring in money to support the home. And at the same time, because where the home is situated, there were 2 plots, so there were going to be 2 blocks. So even as the children moved to the phase 1, the phase 2 of the project continued to be worked on, and it was also built and completed in many years, but we thank God that it was completed in year 2017, 2018.
Wow, I hear blessings upon blessings concerning this project. I hear you had a plot that had the stones that you used to construct the apartments. I also understand there was a bungalow that was under construction just nearby. This shows that there was a lot of blessings following another blessing. What were the needs then, and how did you tackle them?
Thank you, Susan. Guided by the mission of Women's Guild at that time and the Tumaini Children's Home, because as we moved on, the home was actually named Tumaini, that is giving hope to these children. And the mission for the home was to provide Christian compassion, hope, love, and holistic care. We found that these children needed comfortable accommodation, They needed shelter, they needed clothing, they needed food, they needed education and medical care, and above all, motherly love, because many of them lacked these. So with the help of the members of the Women's Guild in this church, the CAC session, whom we really appreciate, they have been of great support, our international and local friends, we were able to take care of all these needs for these children, because they provided all the financial needs that we needed. And also there are people who gave their professional services, like the medical professionals in this church. They gave their assistance. They would check on the children and give any advice, and many a times even provide medication. We also got assistance from Kenyatta National Hospital, where the children would get free treatment, and also from Melchizedek Hospital, which is owned by members of this church. So those who have been of great help, and I believe even up to date, in making sure that most of the needs of these children are taken care of.
Maybe before I go to Mrs. Muruthi, I want to hear from Anne Mwangi. Since this is a Women's Guild project, how were the women involved in the beginning? How were they getting involved in this project?
Thank you, Susan. In the beginning, the Women's Guild had a project which was called Short-Term Project that was hiring out catering equipment, and the money that came in from this project was what was used to buy the plot and to buy the bungalow, and also to feed the children initially. And the Women's Guild members are the ones who really supported this project of a short-term project for hiring equipment. Also, every year, the Women's Guild will hold a fundraising activity to raise money towards running Tumaini Children's Home. And also, at the beginning, the feeding of the children was divided in groups, so that every month there was a group made of a number of women who would go buy food and ensure that the children at the Tumaini were properly fed, and also contributing clothes for the children at Tumaini.
Thank you so much, Anne. Is this a girls' children home, or is it a mixture, or how is this home?
The Tumaini Children Home takes both boys and girls, and initially they were taking children from 3 years to 6 years, and although the age increased a little bit because of the need, but initially they were taking both boys and girls, and in fact our first children were 2 boys and 1 girl.
Wow, thank you very much, and thank you, Anne, for answering our questions. I want now to turn to Rose, who has been quiet. I've not forgotten about you, Rose, so I am here with you now. What is the current status for Tumaini Children's Home?
First, I want to thank the Lord that He has brought us this far and up at this sitting. Thank you, Anne, for giving us the history. And history is the one that makes the present. Picking from there, the home is still running, thanks to those ladies who started those many years ago. And right now, we have about 152 children. You have heard we started with 3. Now we are over 150. Sorry, we have got 52 children. And these 52 children are from the age of 3, 4, and up to 18. And the question you might ask is, as a follow-up question, is how do we get these children? Let me just say how we get these children. Initially, you heard there were vulnerable children who are being maybe neglected because of the HIV positive, but these days we are taking vulnerable children. Sometimes they come from the social services offices of the government. Ladies go also to look for those children from the villages, Others are brought by the surrounding administration, and we do not turn them away because we know we are there for a time like this and for this purpose.
Wow, that is nice. So from 3, now it's 52.
Yeah.
This is a home of faith indeed. Mm-hmm. How is the home run today?
I can go back a bit to say that the children are in different classes in schools, and these children, they go to the schools around there. These are public schools, and they just mingle around with the other children. So they are not like coming from a home, in quotes, but they mix with the children from the area. The home is under a management or under a board of directors, and these members of the board are members of the Women's Guild of PCEA St. Andrew's Church in Nairobi. So the board comprises of ladies from the guild, but we have also a company secretary. At this time, maybe I can say about how the board is constituted. It has the executive, the chair of that board. There is a secretary, and there is a treasurer. In addition to that, the board comprises of members who are in charge of various committees. We have a committee which deals with the human resources. We have got mothers, we have got a manager, we have got caretaker. So as we do the recruitment, we follow the process of recruitment. And we are not outside the government rules or the church procedure of having employees. So we have that committee. You have heard our children of course, they go to hospitals, they get sick like any other. We have a committee called the health committee, and they are the ones who takes care of the children, if they need jobs, if they need to be taken to hospitals. But this is in conjunction with the manager that we have in that home, who reports to the board. And again, sometimes if there is a needed quick thing to be addressed, she can get direct to the in charge of the health committee. We have also education committee, which takes care of matters education and making sure that they are following the curriculum and making sure that just like a mother would do with the children at home. We have another committee called development. You have heard we have been building. We have not stopped building. In fact, we are really up in building. And so we have that committee also dealing with building, and we call it development committee. Thank you. We have also, of course, the management committee, which deals with the day-to-day of the children, the feeding, to know when their food is finished, the clothing, and just like a mother would do to their children, they make sure that the children are in good health and in good shape. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The people heading those committees, are they members of the Women's Guild or people from the outside of the church?
Thank you, Susan. Yes, all the members of the board are members of the Women's Guild. I also need to mention, since this is a properly constituted board according to the law of the land, we have a company secretary also who is a member of this church. And he has been with the Tumaini board from the beginning, and he is still with us. He's a professional on that line, and he guides us on the rule on board management. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What are the future plans for Tumaini Children's Home?
You have heard we started with 3, we have 52, and I would say the number is growing. Not that we are advocating for needy children to be in the streets to be picked, but there is that need. The need is there for children who need help. So we are looking forward to have a bigger place and to have more participation of taking care of those vulnerable children. As the desire is there, as we say that the Lord sees the desires of our heart and He directs us the way to go to that desire if we follow. As we were desiring to grow, because we need to help and the women are ready and willing to help. Somebody one day walked in this church and said they want to donate a piece of land. This piece of land is in Ruiru. Ruiru is about 25 kilometers from Nairobi, I think. And she said, this land, I am donating this land purposely for the ladies of this church, the St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church of East Africa, the Women's Guild, who take care of those vulnerable children. I'm giving this land to them. Specifically, the project should be for Tumaini Children Home. So we have that land. In that land, as I said earlier, we are not advocating to go collecting children, or we are not advocating for children to be needy or to be vulnerable, but they are there. And we are looking forward to bring up a big building that we may house the 52 comfortably, and the staff, and more children. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information. Indeed, it is good, and it is very clear to us. Approximately, what is the estimated cost for the construction that you are talking about?
Thank you, Susan. If I go back to what Mrs. Mwangi said, she told us that the work which has been done in Tumaini at the very beginning, people came forward and volunteered. Up to today, we have got volunteers from this church who are professionals. They have come forward. They have been to that land. We are talking about engineers, we are talking about the QAs, we are talking about the architects and surveyors of this church who have volunteered to work with the Women's Guild of St. Andrew's Church. So they have gone to that land. They have seen where the land is and what can be put on it. And they have finished drawing, I would call it a mega building, which has been approved by the relevant government. The structures, the structural engineering is done, the approvals are done, and we are ready to start that big project. It will be a project which will take some time because it is big. But this project will be in 4 phases. We have right now to start with the first phase, that is to secure our land and to make sure that it is not encroached by people around or other people. And we are hoping this year we shall start the first phase of the project, which is the fence, the gate, and the gatehouse. But the question which I was asked is how much the project will cost. Currently, according to the current figures, it will cost us about 100 million Kenya shillings, because it will have a hall, a multi-purpose hall. It will have some flats. It will have a parking area, of course, and it will have quarters for the workers. So the estimate currently is about 100 million Kenya shillings, which we can easily say equivalent to $1 million US. Thank you.
Those figures are quite huge. Oh, excellent. This is indeed a faith project, and when I hear the figures, I indeed can tell that we really need God, and we also need many people to come and be part and parcel of this project. What is the source of your funding now that you are looking for such a huge amount of money?
Thank you, Susan. The funding of this project, or the funding of Tumaini Home, the main stakeholders, as we said from the very beginning, are the women woman guild of this church. Helped by the congregation themselves, they partner with us and the taxation. For this huge project, just as we did in the past, we are depending on funds from well wishers. We have done it in the past. We have seen God coming through for us. So even this figure that sounds so big, we know that the Lord will come through for us. I can say the first phase, which is the fence, the gate, and the gatehouse, the costing has been estimated at 10 million Kenya shillings. And I want to thank the Women Guild of St. Andrew's Church. That money, they have already raised that money. So we are ready to go to the ground because they have come forth and they have contributed that money, and we are ready to start. So going forth, or going ahead, we are depending on the Women's Guild, the church, the taxation, the well wishers. But we know there is nothing too hard for the Lord.
Indeed, nothing too hard for the Lord. He's the owner of silver and gold. People visit the children's home in different places. Is Tumaini a home that one can just pop in and say hi to the children? Or do I have to ask for permission? Or how do I get to Tumaini if I was to?
Thank you, Susan. The home, as you have heard, is run by charity. Even at this point, I can say we have a board on the roadside which talks about the Tumaini Children Home. There's a big board. And also PCA St. Andrew's Church, Women's Guild. People see that and they want to know more. There are some people who just pass and they just want to peep and see what's happening. Mm-hmm. And they go and tell the others. And they bring things. It is open. Anybody can visit. But during these days, we are a bit careful because of COVID. So if anybody would like to visit, including you, the media people, please get in touch with us. We can take you there. At this time, we can only give the number of the telephone number for the church because the numbers do change. The managers change. I can also change my number, or the ladies here. So at this time, we can give the number for the church. If anybody want to visit, they can get in contact with us using the church number. And I'd like to give the church number, which is 0723 732 705. If you call the church number, they will know how to get in touch with us. But the home is open, and just as we do things going to people's homes and to such homes, I'm sure those who are willing to visit, they will go and visit and see what we do. And I pray, or we pray, that they will partner with us. We need food. And at this time, I can even talk about these times of COVID, that we didn't have enough money. But the ladies organized themselves to be dropping food every Thursday. At the tuck shop, we have a tuck shop down here, and the proceeds of the tuck shop go to that home. And ladies organize themselves to bring food every Thursday. Could be bananas, nyanyas, tomatoes, all kinds of food and farm products to go to the Tumaini home to feed our children. You can also bring clothes, even and drop them here in church, and we shall take. So the home is for us all, people who are called to serve the Lord.
Thank you so much for letting us know more about Tumaini. One of the things that Rose didn't say, she is the current chair of Tumaini board, and so she has it all, and she actually got the leadership from Mwangi, and therefore we are grateful to have them this time. And they have given us a lot about Tumaini. I am sure now we know more about Tumaini. I would like to ask Mrs. Muruthi, is there anything that you feel you'd want to add?
Yes, I can add. On behalf of the board, the appreciation that we have for the church leadership, for holding us together, and for helping us to run that home. Without the church, we could not have made it. The succession at large, they have been helping us, and we depend on them, and we work together. More so, this home, the stakeholders, the bigger part is owned by the Women's Guild. So I just want to say thank you, because they come forth without leaving anything behind. They take this home as their personal, it is theirs, the children are theirs, and they take care of those children. They bring food, they bring clothes, they bring money. I can tell you even the school fees, they pay, the clothing, they are there for the children, and they do it for their children at home. Maybe one thing that Mrs. Mwangi would have mentioned, maybe she did, I missed. She has told us, and we are aware that when they started this home, it is to bring up children the way we would bring up our children in our homes. So we do the best as we do in our homes for these children. And if you have not visited that home, you hear it is a children's home. When you are there, you will not even realize that you're in a children's home. You will know that you are in a home.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Muruthi, for that. We truly appreciate.
I would also like to add that in the board, we have got representatives from the CAC session. We have got the ex-officio, the moderator of the church. We have a representative from the session, that is a liaison elder. So whatever we do, it is liaised to the CAC session. So we are not separate, we are not alone. Even as they feed the children, I would like also to acknowledge that we get a monthly remittance from the church to help the children, to feed the children. On top of that, the church has organized that the districts, there is what we call the district feeding program every month. So every district also feeds that home every month. And we really appreciate, because without that help, it would have been a bit hard for us to have the children and to keep them the way they are. So our appreciation to the CAC session and for leading us, to the districts, to the Women's Guild, all of us, and to the camera people for having us today.
I just wanted to ask you, because probably somebody is listening and does not understand what you mean by district, because we know the state has districts. Is this the state districts, or what do you mean by districts?
Thank you, Susan. For the sake of not maybe answering the way the pastoral people like to answer, I can only say that this church is divided into locations, geographical locations, and numbers are given, that this location is this number, and that location under that number, there is an elder. For example, I can say my district is District 26, and we have an elder. So every district has an elder, and this is for the purpose of reaching out to everybody, because this is a big church. One can get lost in the crowd. So it has been divided geographically, given numbers, and given elders.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us feedback about the districts. And you told us that the home started 22 years ago. Where are these children, the 3 children that you said? Where are they?
Thank you, Susan. As I mentioned, we started with 3 children, and unfortunately, 2 of our children who we started with went to be with the Lord. But one of the girls is now a working girl. We call her Shiro. We are so happy about Shiro. She's out in the marketplace working. And most of the other children, we have girls who have finished university, college, and they are on their own, those who are among the first children. But the first three, we lost two. Because at that time, many of them were dying because of the HIV and AIDS scourge.
Okay. Sorry for that. And thank you so much. Have you been able to connect some with their families, or they are still with you? Or
Thank you, Susan. I think this one, even as our current chair mentioned, once the children turn to 18, they are connected to their families, and we want to thank God that this has been able to happen. When the children turn to 18, if they are not in secondary school, they immediately are connected with their relatives, those who have relatives, because most of them have guardians, and so they have moved to be with their guardians or their relatives. And those who are still in college, I believe, are still being educated by the board, by the Women's Guild. So the home only keeps those who are in high school or in school even when they turn 18. But once they are 18, they are taken back by their relatives.
thank you very much, viewers, for listening to us, and Anne Mwangi and Rose Muruthi and myself, Susan. It was a good session, and I believe that we have been able to feed you with the information that you'd want. If you want to be part of this faith project, we welcome you. We have a website which will be put down here so that you can have it, and also the number that we gave. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Goodbye, and God bless you. Bye-bye.